just naturally, we want to like avoid pain as much as possible in all the areas that it looks, right? Pain from telling a client bad news, pain from setting expectations with the client, in fear of, oh, they might fire me. Well, guess what? They'll probably fire you in 3 months when you've submitted 12 offers and you've gotten blasted out on all of them. So you have to have these conversations up front.
So the question is this: how do most agents find the secrets to succeed in today's competitive real estate market, especially when the top agents are keeping those secrets to themselves? That's the question, and this podcast will give you the answer. Hi, I'm Aaron Amuchastegui, and welcome to Real Estate Rockstars. Hey, Real Estate Rockstars. This is Aaron Amuchastegui, and I'm interrupting myself to bring you this commercial break from one of our sponsors. And I know you guys would much rather listen to the content and not the ads and not the sponsors, but this is one that I'm actually super excited with. So many of the realtors that we interview on the show, they talk about how much systems are important and how much follow-up is important. And I'm really excited about our new sponsor. There's somebody I've been looking at for a long time, and when they reached out to me, I said, yes, we have to be able to do this deal. So that sponsor is Follow Up Boss. On an interview last week with agent Mark McGuire, I asked him what his favorite software and what his favorite system was, and he said it was Follow Up Boss. And then he went on for another 3 or 4 minutes to talk about why Follow Up Boss was the best CRM he uses. So there's a lot of superstars out there that use Follow Up Boss. Some of the stats they gave me: Robert Slack, 1.5 billion team in Florida, number 1 in the US. He uses Follow Up Boss to get a 400% ROI on his massive paid lead spend. Deborah Beagle, co-owner of the Ashton Group in Nashville, uses Follow Up Boss to guarantee that agents who join her team get 2 homes under contract in the first 90 days. That's a big guarantee for new agents. Barry Jenkins of Your Friends in Real Estate uses Follow Up Boss to automate everything so his team can produce $200 million on 25-hour work weeks. All right, so here's an offer. You guys are going to get this special for being Real Estate Rockstars listeners. Now, I've used Follow Up Boss. We've actually used it in our non-real estate businesses as well because it's so good at being able to set timers, set automatic texting and emailing, and what do you know? Best name ever, Follow Up. So here's what we got. For Real Estate Rockstars listeners, you get a 30-day free trial. That's normally 14 days. So in order to get this, you go followupboss.com/rockstars. So again, followupboss.com, just like it sounds, /rockstars. Go there, get your 30-day free trial and check it out. Especially if you aren't using any systems or any CRMs yet, this will be a great one for you to start with. All right, everybody, thanks again. Now back to our show.
Hey, Real Estate Rockstars. This is Kelly Skevel back again. And today I get to interview Belle Tunstall. Did I got it right?
Got it right.
Okay.
Yes.
Belle Tunstall. She is out of Northern Virginia, and she is being recognized as a 30 under 30 with Realtor Magazine, right?
Yes.
Awesome. So thanks for coming on, Belle. Excited to have you.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
So yeah, tell us a little bit about that nomination, like how you got that.
Yeah.
I'm excited to hear about it.
Yeah, definitely. So I think, you can apply, and I'll be totally honest. I don't know why I thought this. I thought that you had to either have closed like at least 30 deals or sold at least 30 million in volume. I don't know why that's what I thought. So thankfully I had done both. So I was like, oh my gosh, I should at least apply. You never know. It's nationwide. So I applied and then, kind of was in this vetting process for a little while, maybe a couple months. And so made it as there was like over 300 people, I think, that applied. It's anyone under 30 in the country doing real estate.
Okay.
So I think there was like over 300 or so applicants, and then they brought it down to 50. And then, called me and again, when I applied, I had to answer like a bunch of questions, about business and whatever, all these different things, my involvement in the community and, tons of different things. And so then they called me a little bit later and just asked a couple more follow-up questions. I waited a couple more weeks, and then they announced the 50. And so they had this thing where it was like, okay, they announced all the 50. You could like read everybody's bio and stuff. And then they so the committee was going to pick 29 and the internet could pick one. So they had it was like open to voting. So for, I think almost like a week, it was like 5 days or something. You could just go in and vote like once a day for the person you wanted to win. So I think somebody like, I don't know, out West, they won, they had like almost 2,000 votes or something like that. So, so I didn't get the online choice award, but I was picked by the committee and found out, and it was actually so special. Like our team is, fairly large, we've got 30 some agents and cover a good amount of territory. And so one of the first times in a few months, our whole team had gotten together and we were just out to eat at a restaurant. And I found out that day that I had actually been selected. So it was so cool just getting to like celebrate that moment. With my whole team, like back office, everybody. So we were all like, it was so exciting. Cause for me, it's like, I've played sports my whole life. Like I understand that, if you experience success in any area of your life, chances are like you didn't get there alone. You've had mentors, academically, you've had tutors maybe, or, with sports, you've had coaches, stuff like that. So for me, it's like any vocational recognition, it's great, but I'm like, okay, how, no way I would have closed 80 deals last year without my showing partner, Megan, who's amazing, without my transaction coordinators who like work on the weekends and weeknights and help me and, all that stuff. My boss, Chris Craddock and David Mount, they coach me and everything. So it was really special to experience it with everyone.
Oh, that's great. And then you got to celebrate finding out with all of the people that you felt like, really, that's awesome.
Yeah. It was so like heartfelt. Chris, I don't know where we were. I forget the name of the restaurant, but there's like a chocolate piñata you can buy, I guess. I was like, I had no idea about this, but so out came this like big chocolate thing and they like gave me a little bat, I guess. And so I like cracked it and it was kind of like a fondue thing. I know it was so extra, but it was, it was so special. Yeah.
So you are, remind me, how are you? You're 29?
Yeah, 29. So made it.
Just made it. But you were recognized, and you said more in a more local 40 under 40 the previous year.
Yeah. So, so in 2021, it was 40 under 40, which actually, I think maybe my mindset for that was because for that one, it wasn't, I was just sort of recognized by like stats, I guess. So that actually was either, you had to be under 40 years old. And then it was either 40 units closed or 40 million in volume.
Oh, okay.
So
that's where then correlated it with.
I guess so. Yeah. Which again, for the 30 under 30, you could have closed 9 deals, but if you feel like you're killing it, you can apply and then they'll check everything out. So yeah. So for the 40 under 40 thing, that was really cool, especially because, when I got started, I was 23 and, again, I grew up in Vienna, Virginia. It's like maybe 30 minutes outside Washington, DC. And, I don't know, I went to school. This was, I had like a year-long position job after I graduated at the university I attended. And so this was really my first job career. I was talking to Chris Craddock, my boss, and I've known him. He's been a family friend for many years. And so he was like, you should do real estate. I think you'd be great at it. And I'm like, what the heck? Like, this is so random. It was before it was mainstream, before Selling Sunset and everything, and I feel like with the pandemic, just with so many things shutting down, I think a lot of people have now turned into like kind of like lending and they've gotten into real estate. But when I got started, like it was me and the average 54-year-old person, I was like, how am I going to do this? I don't know. It was very humbling because I was kind of like, yeah, I'm doing this and I'm going to be unique. And then literally everyone I talked to, they're like, my mom, my brother, my uncle, my sister. I'm like, how is everybody a realtor?
Yeah.
So when I moved home, it was, I don't know. So anyways, getting started was like, it was a little rough. And so, but anyways, yeah, it was an interesting experience getting started.
So you started at 23, almost fresh out of college, right? Like you were out of college a year. Okay. And you joined a team. You didn't go out, you didn't do it on your own. You joined a team. And on this team, you had access to transaction coordinators, a mentor. All the teams are set up a little bit different. So what was available to you in the team that like helped make you successful?
Yeah, I think it was, again, I played sports my whole life, so I'm very competitive, always have like a goal in mind. I'm striving to get better. And so I think, with this team, I really felt like I've actually seen it grow a lot too over the years. When I kind of joined the team, they were maybe like 4 years young or whatever. So still kind of figuring it out. I think everything looks a lot different now. And I'm so happy for the newer agents, because when I started, it was like, yeah, typically, you'll close something in your first 6 months. And to the day I closed my first deal in 6 months, I had a rental in between. But so I was like, I'm killing it. And then even in the coming years, we brought on newer agents, and like in the first month, they have something pending. I'm like, what? So we've really upped kind of the training. And I think, for me, I felt like our team really comes from just like an abundance mentality. And I feel like as other agents had like joined our team and come from other teams or brokerages or whatever, they would tell stories that agents, they're all cold calling in their center, and they would pick up the phone, and like if someone answered, they would leave. Like they didn't want anyone to hear like competition, I guess. I don't know. So it's kind of refreshing because, again, it's like there's so many leads and things like that. But I feel like with our team, it's a very healthy environment, and one you can really grow in. And so I think I saw that. I also see like in our team leader, Chris, like he is constantly learning and educating and teaching us, and he's hungry for that. So I feel like he's never complacent. And so our team is always in this like kind of upward movement. And I feel like, the industry is so cutthroat. It's like 13% make it past 5 years. Yeah. And so, I feel like with the team, I just saw a lot of opportunity, and I just felt like it really feels like a team. I feel like some teams, it's kind of like an umbrella, and they just have a bunch of people under them, and you're kind of working as more of a solo agent. But like we train every day. Like I actually led this morning, we had a Zoom huddle, and every day we train 5 days a week, and try to do like client appreciation events and stuff like that. I'm talking to all of our team members like every day. Wow. So I just felt like it just made sense. And I've never looked anywhere else or even wanted to consider, because I just feel so fulfilled. And, and with the market shift, right. Even at the beginning with COVID and stuff, and how that, I think, it was interesting because I feel like people like to flex on, they're like, I've been in it 30 years, or I've been in it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I've been in it like 12 months, or, it's so, but it was interesting because once the pandemic hit, it was sort of like, it didn't matter if you've been in it 30 years or 3 months, like we were all experiencing the exact same thing. Mm-hmm. And it was like, who can adapt, who can evolve, and who can do it the quickest.
I totally agree. It was an opportunity to really, for people to really show if they can pivot or not. Like at least my personal experience was that you really had to pivot. And if you were stuck in your ways, if you didn't want to get on the Zoom train, like if you didn't want to figure out how to sell a house virtually, then you were being left in the dust. And the people that were pivoting quickly up here in New York, we were having the regulations and the rules and whether or not we were even allowed to enter a house or contact clients was like changing from day to day. And it was the agents who really like started grinding and pivoting with all of it, that you see still now are really doing, really successful. And there are ones that, and it's not all of them, but there were the ones that weren't ready to pivot with the technology. That are being left in the dust now.
Yeah. And I get it. It's not like, just because I'm kind of younger in the industry and I'm more tech savvy, honestly, even with my age, I'm still like, I'm not on TikTok, and I have done one reel, and it was so painful that I was painful. I just was like, I'm not doing this. So, I mean, if anyone's listening, don't think that, I'm young and I, was able to just like absolutely kill it through totally only social media, like the new trends and stuff. Because TikTok, like I'm not doing that. I think for me, it was just an opportunity where I was like, dang, again, people like to flex on like the past and all this stuff, but like what's happening right now, where for the first time in our industry, it is the most level field ever. Like
you're so right. It was completely leveled. Like, yeah.
So, I mean, for me, it was like, and it was interesting because in 2019, I had attended no, that would have been a year ahead then. Anyways, in 2019, I had attended a couple like mastermind conferences, and I had like my growing experience was just kind of slow. And I mean, I look back and it was like, I was constantly breaking ceilings and then having to adapt. And, it was like, oh, I'm really good at, okay. okay, they answered the phone. Great. Now what do I do? Okay, they answered the phone. We're having a conversation. I need to set the appointment. Okay, great. I finally know how to set the appointment. Now they need to actually show up to the appointment or talk to the lender. Okay, now they've done that. And like, okay, now I'm showing so many homes and I'm not writing offers. Okay, now I'm writing offers and ratifying, but they're constantly falling through and I'm not having a lot of closings. Like, okay, my mind is blown because I have 3 deals happening right now. Like this is so chaotic. And, at one point I got to where I had 18 deals at once. Yeah. So it's like, you're constantly like growing, but I just learned at this conference, the importance of setting expectations with clients. And it sounds elementary, but it will save you so much time, like, and money and effort and emotion, like just being able to really guide your clients through the transaction. Again, I work more with buyers. I probably have 1 to 3 listings, every month or so, but I'm very buyer heavy. And so being able to lead them through like all the way from when we first talked all the way until we close, but knowing how to learning how to do that. And I think it just really clicked for me with the expectations. Yes. So much so that in 2019, I closed like 30 some deals. So, for 2020, I'm thinking, okay, 50, maybe, I hope, that's kind of like the growth progression, and end up closing 72. So It was just absolutely.
So you almost doubled the amount. No, you more than doubled. So you went from 30 to 72. Mm-hmm. You more than doubled the amount.
In a pandemic. Like it was in that pandemic shutdown world.
But you attribute a lot of that. I mean, we talked before we started recording, but there's a large piece of that you attribute to having conversations about and setting expectations for your clients.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. I mean, I felt like, again, when I was 23, like when I closed my first deal, at the time I didn't own a home, I was like, we're in this together, like we're both learning what this process looks like. And so having done it at least for a few years and just being a quick learner, like you have to learn from your mistakes. In real estate, mistakes are so expensive, and for you to keep learning them, it's like, it'll cost you an arm and a leg, almost all your commission, a whole client, 4 months of work and thousands of miles and down the drain because you just can't learn this one problem. So, for me, it was just actually taking, a hard look at my business and okay, where are the pain points? Where are these pitfalls? And for me, I think it was that I was showing like 50 homes, and this is before showing partners. So it was like, I was showing like anywhere from 20 to 50 homes, like per buyer. And again, this was kind of before the turn. So like 2017 to maybe 2019, where buyers had a little bit more choice. Yeah. And it just, I couldn't get them to commit, or we would go under contract and then they'd have buyer's remorse. So I didn't even know how to explain buyer's remorse to them and how it's a real thing and how, it's like the largest transaction. Of course, I experienced buyer's remorse buying $300 Bose headphones when I first got started and had no money, but I had saved for it and I knew I needed it because I spend 7 hours a day on the phone. Yeah. So it's like, of course, you're going to experience it with a $500,000 investment. And so just like the littlest things, you just had to take a hard inventory of your business and, really assess, okay, where are these pain points? Where do I keep stumbling? And how can I fix this?
So let's, let's dive a little bit into, so you were showing one client 30 to 50 homes before they would commit to one.
Yeah. Because I just wasn't asking the right questions.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So you have to dig deep, if you're in a home and they're just like, I just don't feel it. It's like, well, okay. What does that mean? And I, in that training, that mastermind where I was, the agent who was teaching on it gave an example. I think they were in Florida or something. And they had a client who they were showing lots and lots of homes. And all she said was, she kept saying the home is just dark. It just feels dark, dark, dark. And so she was showing her homes that were lined with windows and all this stuff, recessed lighting. And she kept being and she was sort of what? And eventually, 15 homes deep, she found out that actually the buyer just wants high ceilings. To her, that just means it's, lighter, I guess. So you have to, so it feels repetitive, but when you're talking to a client, I think they call it 3 deep. So it's hey, so-and-so, you mentioned that, an open concept's important. So why is that important? Oh, well, we love to entertain. Oh, you like to entertain. Okay. Do you have family in the area? No, we actually don't. So when they come, we want to like host, large groups and we're involved in our community. So we have people over and our kids, they're on sports teams. So it's like, you just have to like keep digging,
keep asking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
let me ask you this. So you really figured out that setting expectations with your clients is, again, we already said this, but it has attributed to your success. So in the current market where we're seeing buyers, I just saw a stat that said on average across the US right now, there's 4.8 offers on every listing that hits the market. So, I don't know about you and your market, but we are seeing multiple listings, like it's a bidding war everywhere, everything. So how are you managing buyer expectations with the bidding war? Because, the likelihood of them winning their first multi offer situation is probably pretty low. So what conversations are you having with them to set that expectation?
Totally. I think that when talking to your clients, again, you always want them to know that you're on their side, you're with them, you are their advocate, you're going to bat for them. I think that, when talking through the current market, it's just, again, setting those expectations that, hey, it is, it's typical, again, because inventory is so low. I think I saw somewhere that it was like, there's like 200 some thousand homes across the country really that are for sale. Whereas in 2016, it was like over, it was like 1.3 million or something like that. It's like such a difference right now.
Yeah.
Don't quote me. I think, guesstimating, I don't remember but you get the picture, right? There's just like no inventory.
Right.
So, unfortunately for some of my buyers, and it just takes us getting burned a couple of times for them to actually understand like, oh, wow. Okay. So it is normal to waive this or that. But I think the biggest thing is depending on your market. I think for us, being right outside DC, with like, government and military bases and things like that. So it's just setting an expectation in price. I basically with all of my buyers, I'm like, okay, in some parts of the country, sure, you get the new build, like detached 2-car, 3-car garage. It's in a great location. It's inexpensive. But for us, it's like, you got to pick two. Do you want the big house and are you proof for $500,000? So now we have to go 30 miles out. Or are you dying to be in Arlington, right outside DC, and you're proof for $300,000? So we're looking at condos. Like it's just it's a give and take. So for clients, it's like, in this market, setting that first expectation of just like, okay, if 550, if you're looking only for a single family home, and if 550 is our max, homes are selling like 10 to 15% of list price. And in some locations, it's like 22. So it's like, if 550 is our max, we have absolutely no business. Like, don't even look at that 549, 999 house. Don't even look at honestly, for some of them, I'm like 525, like, yeah, I service at 500. So it's a tricky balance. And again, you want them to know that you're on their side. So it's just setting that expectation in the beginning.
Yeah.
Again, days on market's the enemy of price. So it's like, of course, we will still consider some of these homes between 525 and 548, 549, if it's been on the market for 5, 10, 14 days. But if it's coming soon, they have an offer deadline, like forget it. That's going into the sixes, Yep,
exactly. Exactly. So, having those are conversations that we didn't have to have a couple of years ago. I find I'm spending a lot more time prepping buyers and even sellers really, because up here, it's really our market up here right now is like a week to week. Now you can, depending on what buyers are out and looking, this week, certain houses can hit the market and draw multiple offers. I've seen a couple over the last couple of weeks that have come on at a decent price and the buyers weren't there and they actually didn't even draw an offer. There was only a couple, but it was interesting to see in the market up here is just kind of changing like on a week to week basis.
Totally. Yeah.
Those conversations.
Yeah. And I think even, there was spring break for us for like all the schools a couple of weeks ago. And so I think some of my buyers maybe lucked out because there was just a little bit less traffic and
less people looking. Yes.
Yeah. So, so it really is week to week. And I think depending on the house, like condo market's a little bit slower. So I've closed a few like this year so far, and we've actually been able to have like an info only home inspection or, a partial.
Oh, yeah.
I know. Yeah. Or, partial appraisal waive or, things like that. So I think, another big area of growth in my business, like with expectations, but it's just learning how to kind of lead the clients. And I remember there was 2 times in terms of, response time with clients. Right before my showing partner, I was so backlogged and so busy. And, my best friend at the time was going through chemo treatment. And so I was trying to visit her, but then I have 18 active clients at home. And so it was hard because I was trying to get them into the homes, but I wasn't, I got fired maybe 2 times within a few months. And one was, I just, kind of got sloppy with my craft. I just wasn't doing the things I know I need to do, right? If you've got buyers and you're in this market where things are just wrapping up all the time, you have to understand, okay, it's, you're taking your time to drive out wherever to do it, but so are they. They're leaving family, leaving work. They are prioritizing their search. And so you need to do your due diligence, not even just text, but you have to at least try to talk to that listing agent beforehand. Hey, do you have any offers on the table? Any coming in? Do the sellers need a rent back? What are they looking for in an offer? Yeah. And guess what? Sucks to suck. But if you're showing 5 homes that day, you got to do that for all of them. So that way, when you're showing the house, you're like, hey, they have offers on the table. We need to act like now. Maybe you go to the showing with the offer bones, because I hadn't done that with those clients. And twice, one time I was sitting in the driveway waiting for them. And then I got a text saying, oh, the house went to pending. And then they pulled up right behind me. I was like, oh my gosh, and that was the only one we were seeing that day. Yeah. And then the other time, which I think this might've been one of the turning points, but I had paid an agent on our team to show them, and, they were in the house, touring it, and it basically went to pending. So it's painful. Painful lessons, expensive lessons,
Yes.
So, that was one. And then again, with just another client who they had texted, they were in Texas, I think. So they were an hour back. And so they had texted me, it was after 9, I was with family, and I saw it, but I just didn't really engage with it until the next morning, but it was too late. They were just oh, we want to go a different way. So, just managing expectations of such a simple thing, right? I could have texted them, hey, with family, I'll look at this in the morning. But I didn't do it. So just, those types of things. There was also I had a seller once, and this was early on, but we were looking at comps, and I had only done neighborhood comps. I had just pulled in the neighborhood. I hadn't learned, to do the MLS map search, but she was stuck on this one house, down a hill outside of the little radius. And so, to her, I was an idiot. I didn't know the area. I didn't know the right comps. So just all these little things over the years that I kind of look back on, and it just helped me refine the craft. Sure, there were painful lessons and things that you could have so easily fixed, but just being a quick learner in this market, because it does shift and change. Weekly, if not daily.
Real estate rock stars. This is Aaron Muchastegui with a quick commercial break with one of our newest sponsors. I'm super excited to be partnering with these guys. Does 15 to 20% ROI investing in turnkey rentals sound attractive? Did you know you can use the BRRRR strategy with new construction that has immediate equity already? You guys have heard me talk about stuff like this. Rent to Retirement offers fully turnkey properties that are newly built or renovated, leased and managed, allowing you to invest with confidence out of state. They have single family, multifamily, new build, and syndication opportunities across multiple markets that maximize cash flow, appreciation, and equity. Rent to Retirement assists investors in learning how to build a comprehensive business plan with the best investment and tax strategies to achieve financial freedom through real estate investing. There's no excuse not to get started in real estate investing when you have the right team and systems in place. To learn more, visit renttoretirement.com. That's renttoretirement.com, or call 1-800-311-6781. That's 800-311-6781 to learn about how you can get started investing in some of the best cash flow markets today. And if you guys want to learn more about Zach, episode 1025, we dig in for a good 45-minute interview where he tells you the secrets to investing in real estate out of state. And him and I shared a lot of ideas about what works and what doesn't. You'll get to hear a lot about his company and his business. If you're an agent from out of state and you've got referrals looking for stuff, they work with other agents on a referral basis. And we've talked so much since COVID hit that everybody needs to have a backup plan, right? Every one of you agents needs to have a backup plan. You should all be investing in real estate. And if you're having trouble finding the time and the team to do it, maybe something like rent to retirement is the solution for you. So thank you for listening. Go check them out. Now back to the rest of our podcast.
Yes, exactly. I think this is super valuable because I feel like we don't share often enough. Like, we all talk about growth and how we've grown since we first started, but like, how did we grow? It was through, a lot of times it is through like failures or mistakes or things where you're like, lessons learned, right? So the fact that you're sharing these lessons with all of us, I think is super valuable. And I appreciate.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think people, they want to just naturally, we want to like avoid pain as much as possible. And in all the areas that it looks, right? Pain from telling a client bad news, pain from setting expectations with the client, in fear of, oh, they might fire me. Well, guess what? They'll probably fire you in 3 months when you've submitted 12 offers and you've gotten blasted out on all of them. So you have to have these conversations up front. For listings, if they're unrealistic with the price, they are, gung ho on this Zillow's estimate or whatever. Oh my gosh. So, and I'm not encouraging everybody to just, cut ties and, sorry, if they're unrealistic, don't work with them. I'm not saying that, but it's like we go away from pain, but in the end of the day, it will build trust and it'll make you look like the expert and you'll be the hero when you ratify on the first deal.
Absolutely.
Like offer.
Absolutely. I can remember in the very beginning, I would be nervous to have these conversations, especially with when I was on the list, when I was the listing agent, and the price they wanted to list at wasn't anywhere near what I had as in my CMA. Yeah. And in the first couple of times, it was like very awkward. I didn't want to tell them that, it was probably too high. And now I'm just like, hey, listen, like I will list it at what you want to list. I just need you to know that this is what's going to happen if we're too high. It's gonna sit. We'll probably have a lot of showings. Like I go through my whole spiel with them, and I'm just being honest with you. And they're like, okay. I'm like, but I'm happy to do this. Like, we'll give it a shot. I'm wrong sometimes. Like, we'll just see how it goes. And then when it does kind of follow what I was like, if we're too high, this is what's going to happen. They're not mad at me. I set the expectations.
And I think one of the best things that happened was I was showing clients, they're pretty realistic, but again, like buyers basically have to get burned a few times. If they don't trust you right off the bat, they have to get burned a few times to actually be like, okay, I have to waive everything and, pull from my 401k and get a gift from my parents and, whatever. But, I was showing clients, we were like the first ones into this like listing. It was checking a lot of boxes. And on our way out, this agent who had the next showing, she like came busting in, and the listing agent was there. I guess the sellers were out of town and she was a neighbor. And so she was just present at the house. Yeah. And this other agent came in as we're coming down the stairs, and she's like yelling to the agent, like, we're ready. We'll put, 200K over. We're waiving everything. We can close in 2 weeks. So like literally she's just blabbing this whole offer.
You're hearing the whole thing.
And it's, I was glad because we had been up in the master bedroom, just all like talking and saying, okay, like I was like, I think we should escalate here and do this and that. Yeah. And so, obviously they were talking way higher margins, but I was sort of like, y'all hear this? This is what I'm dealing with. Like, when I'm talking to other agents and they're like, yeah, we've got 8 offers and we're north of X. And so I feel like, again, like naturally we want to move away from pain. And I just feel like as cheesy as it is, like, I'm not saying like embrace it, it's amazing. Cause it's totally sucks in the moment. But I feel like in real estate, being a quick learner, not relearning the same expensive mistakes and just being able to accept a situation that really stinks. Maybe, maybe you messed up. Maybe you said something you shouldn't have sent an addendum you shouldn't have sent, missed a deadline, or, did something, or maybe something happened to you. But just embracing it of like, okay, like how can I learn from this and move from this? I feel like every transaction, I've done so many, close to 300 at this point, but it's like, every time I'm like learning something new in every transaction. And I'm like, okay, I need to pivot a little bit for my next buyer or whatever. I need to set better expectations in this area, or I need to make sure that my lender fully explains that. But I just feel like, for me being on a team, just bringing having humility, like just bringing problems to the team, and being able to problem solve with them. Like, hey, the septic is blown, but we have to do this, and it's VA and we have to close to get the money. But, it's just like all these random situations. It's like, hopefully, right. Or if you're on a team, or if you're not, you have your broker, like being able to just talk through those things and like it will only help you in the end. But some people, like as humans, when we experience pain, we want to like run from it and
So. No, but like you said, owning it, finding out what you can learn from it, and then move on.
Yeah.
Use that to grow and keep going. All great stuff. Yeah. So I especially like the bouncing. I too am on a team, and the being able to bounce, I know that you can have a safe place where you can go to say, hey, this is a problem I'm experiencing. How have you seen this and how have you dealt with it? Yeah. I'm even asking the agents on my team, I'm like, what do you like? I'm constantly like, what are you seeing winning offers? And they'll tell me, and I'm like, and like, I like find little things. I'm like, that's good. I'm going to take that. You just like have, a lot to put more to put in your arsenal.
Oh yeah. I actually heard back in the thick of it of like 2021 when stuff was just wild, wild west, like crazy. I had heard of people who were offering, like buyers were offering a Netflix subscription or,
I heard somebody like a TV. I mean, like, yeah.
Oh. It was crazy, but it's been funny because I feel like through social media, I've been able to, again, I don't know. I was like in my head when I first got started, I was like, I'm not making an Instagram for work because I need to actually be in this industry long enough. I felt like, I feel like a lot of people, they make a career change and then create a Facebook page and all this stuff. And then maybe they fizzle out, so I was like, it was more of a slow burn for me. But I was like on a bachelorette in like Tulum with one of my friends before the pandemic. And then, just seeing past clients or people like seeing my stories and stuff, I was like, I think it's time. I think I need a work page. I was like, I don't think I want, my life to intertwine. So during 2020, I did make an Instagram. It was like, I was 5 years in. So in August, will be 7 years. And so it's been fun because I feel like, again, the job can feel kind of lonely at times. Again, I'm more of a buyer's agent. So I'm driving everywhere, showing all these things, inspections, by myself if my client can't make it, or writing offers on the side of the highway, hot spotting, it's like, and what I teach a lot of classes on social media and stuff. And what I tell people is like, you're doing this stuff anyways, like just bring people along. Why do we follow influencers and all these famous people? It's because we like their life, or if they're a chef, we want to like learn recipes, or if they're, a trainer, we want to learn workouts. And I feel like with real estate, there's a whole TV thing, HGTV, like we love it. We love that stuff. We love seeing inside homes and the drama and, whatever. Right. So for me, I'm like, okay, if I'm doing a home inspection, I'm just going to teach people on it. I was so proud. Every time I see a radon system, which is like that. Yeah. Like,
oh yeah, I'm familiar.
Yeah. So I bet. Yeah. So I always post pictures of it. Like, I don't know why. It's like if it's working or not. And so I was so proud. I just had these clients a couple of weeks ago. We were ratifying on a new build, and we were all in a Zoom, and the builder rep was like, "Oh, and radon, are you all familiar?" And my client was like, "Oh yeah, from Belle's Instagram stories, but like that's all I know." And I was like, "Oh yeah." So it's just, I think for me, it's actually been helpful too, because the market's so crazy. You're trying to set expectations, and I will share screenshots. Of course, I privacy block things out, but it's like some responses from agents, that are like, "Oh, we have 27 offers," and whatever. And I'm just like, wow. So it's kind of helpful too, because I feel like a lot of people, they will like, DM or reach out, and they're familiar with the market, but then it's just that kind of puts your foot in the door. And I don't know if I mentioned it, but so I closed 80 deals last year, but 30 came from Instagram. So, and again, I'm not doing reels or TikToks, maybe in the future, but for right now, I'm too busy. Like I cannot stand in front of my phone and dance and point to the air for, 30 tries until I get it right. I just don't really have time right now.
I'm laughing because I've tried a couple of reels and I'm like, oh, they make me feel uncomfortable. They're not my thing. Yeah. And dancing and like doing all this stuff until I'm so with you.
I was with Vine, back in the day, and then it disappeared, and I was like, okay, I'll never do any of these videos. But yeah, so it's just been helpful because I feel like with my generation, people are afraid to pick up the phone. I feel like technology is moving so fast that when I got started, it was all about Facebook leads, and it was all about, send somebody a video message of you after your open house. Because they're not going to remember you. I'm like, my sphere will find that so creepy. So know your audience, know your sphere, know what will work for them. But so it's all about like Facebook leads and all that stuff. And now for me, it's like, well, I know my audience. And And I know that they're not going to want my email. They're not going to want my phone, like a professional phone call. What's easiest for them? Oh, DMing me or replying to my stories or kind of coming along with the journey and, just making it easy for them. So I just found that on Instagram, I'm doing these things already, right? I'm writing offers, I'm ratifying, I'm going to closings, inspections, appraisals, like meeting with new clients and listing appointments and I'm doing all these things anyways. So on my story and whatnot, I'm just going to bring them along. And like I said, I started on Facebook a little bit and then I went to Instagram. But for me, it's like, especially if you're a newer agent and you're just starting out, like I said, I found a way to just turn one client into 13 like posts or, different social media things, content. I should maybe. Okay.
So you're saying working with one client, you were able to make 13 different content posts, whether it was story or in your feed. And then, so I just want to back up and make sure people heard you. So almost nearly 1/3 of your closed transactions last year, you were from your Instagram. Mm-hmm. That's pretty incredible. And you weren't doing TikToks and reels.
No.
Because if you read like, oh, how do I get recognized on, Instagram? They're like, the algorithm right now says you need to be doing all reels. But you're saying like, it's not about a number of followers you have. It's about how are you providing value and showcasing yourself as the market expert to the audience that you have. And it sounds like you do an amazing job at that. If you're turning 1/3 of your transactions are coming out of that.
Yeah. I mean, and again, like I was saying, it's like we follow people because we like their content. We like what they do, their gardening, their whatever, like fashion stuff or home improvement stuff. So it's like, if I'm an agent and I'm showing a house and the kitchen is beautiful or the backyard is a disaster or it's a short sale, so everything is like a dumpster fire, I'm going to show it, because either I think it's funny or I think it's like cool and unique or beautiful. And I'm putting polls and asking questions. And again, it's like, for me with social media, my biggest thing is I want to come from a place of contribution and I want to be genuine. I recognize for myself, at least right now at this chapter in my life, I'm not that comfortable with reels. So it's like, so sure, the algorithm may punish me and I get 30 likes on something, but I don't care because my growth on Instagram, I haven't bought followers or anything like that. So it's been organic and I feel like, whatever. So it's like, I recognize that I don't want to do certain things, so I'm not going to do them. I feel like if I were to come on and, hey guys, just it's like, that's not me. So I'm not going to do that. And the people who follow me also, I would hope probably recognize that it's like, I'm trying to like fit into something that's not me. So it's like, I just want to be genuine and like teach on things, that I think are interesting or useful or helpful. And so, and again, I have a lot of followers that are also agents and lenders and title and, all of that. Yeah. But it's just been, I think, again, moving away from kind of like Facebook leads and stuff like that, cold calling. First of all, no one even has a house phone anymore. So it's like, for me, I just want to be as easily accessible to the consumer as possible. And, it's been fun because I feel like all those, first DMs from leads, it's like, oh, like you're killing it. Or you help so-and-so and I saw, and I know them. Or I've actually had even agents who are like, saw your stuff and here's so like link me with a lead or, things like that. So I feel like that's been really,
And are you doing a lot of story content or both feeds and content?
Yeah, probably more story just because it's quicker. But, on my feed, I typically will just post like more closing pictures or
under contract.
Yeah, exactly. Or like maybe like quarterly stats, or if, Megan and I, my partner, if we had like a killer week and got 7 ratified or something, I don't know, maybe like a headshot or something, I don't know, some random picture, but probably more stories. But again, on Instagram, when I first started, and so, if you're a newer agent and you're like, how do I rebrand myself? Like that was kind of my pain point when I got started. Like I said, I was 23, average realtor is 54, and
I find that stat so funny.
I know. And when I got started, like, again, even kind of going going back to that 40 under 40 local thing, it was so special because it was like, wow, I'm up here with some of the people who obviously have been around much longer than me. And I almost, I look up to them, and you're like well known in the area. And I'm like up here on this like stage getting a picture with you. Like it was really cool to like kind of share that experience and just seeing my growth, I guess. But so for me, I was like, okay, I have to rebrand myself. I moved back home. So, okay, I kind of have a home field advantage, but at the same time, everyone I know, my whole sphere already knows an agent or is like related to one. So I had to focus on rebranding myself. And so it's like, okay, all my friends and family, they know me as like, oh, my daughter played soccer with her and she would sleep over and eat all the pizza. Or, it's like, they knew me as like their daughter's friend. And so it was like, okay, I only focused on positive things. So I would only post, if I got under contract, a 5-star review, closing, if maybe it appraised higher. And so again, like, and I can get into it later. And also just for anyone listening, like, well, my Instagram is by_W_Belle. So like buy with Belle with an E at the end. It's like Taco Bell with an E. But anyways, so I'm happy to like kind of help or show people how I've done this. But again, it's like, the consumer, the normal person, they don't understand all the verbiage. Half my clients don't understand, I'm like, we're ratified. They're like, okay. And what? And EMD. And like, we're like going through the process and they don't even know some of these things. So it's like your friends and family, they're not going to know. So it's like, you can post, maybe on your story that you're in a neighborhood for a listing appointment, or maybe your team folder or some kind of net, marketing thing, and saying like, oh, buyer appointment, like check. And then later you can, maybe post something that you're scheduling showings and, oh, busy weekend showings. As you're out in showings, putting the location, I've gotten leads that way because they're like, oh, you're in this area too. And things like that. Oh yeah. Like, I'm like, yes, I'm in this area. It's only 10 minutes from like where I live. Of course, I do a lot of areas. Showing the good, the bad, the ugly, like as much as you can show, right? With privacy stuff. But then maybe you'll post that you're like writing an offer. And again, like as you're doing these things, they're not going to realize that potentially it's all the same client. The person you had that story weeks ago about the buyer appointment, you don't realize that this is their ratified contract. When you post the under contract post of the house, obviously when you post the closing picture, those people weren't in that under contract post. So they're different. Like it's all these different things. And then later when you post a 5-star review, they don't really realize that it was that person. And I know this for a fact because I was doing like hardly any business, but when I would go to my friends, like parents' house and stuff, they'd be like, oh, like every time I get on Facebook, like you're killing it. It's Belle sold another house. And I'm like, this quarter I have like 2 rentals and one buyer, but I'm like, it's working because people.
It's so true. We had another agent on who did very similar thing. And I can't remember her name, but she would like somebody on her team or her team lead would close and she'd go to pick up the sign and she'd be like, another house sold. And it wasn't a lie. Like it was another house sold. It just, wasn't hers. It. And people were seeing her on social media and they were like, wow, you're killing it. You're killing it. And I have to be honest, I did the same thing. Like I would just post everything, every under contract and every sold I would post. And I was just putting stuff up and people were like, oh, you're killing it. And I really wasn't at the time.
I mean, comparatively, right? You're like,
comparative. Yeah, exactly. But it looked like it. And I attribute a lot of growth as well to being present on social media, people watching you. I think it's great. And I love that you're like, I was just throwing stuff on stories. I wasn't like trying to beat the algorithm. I wasn't doing a bunch of reels. You weren't getting crazy with it. You were just putting simple posts up. And that's
I just want to be genuine. I want to be top of mind. Again, with the rebranding, it's like, okay, I'm not the girl that from high school sports or college sports or whatever. It's like, I am a profession in this industry. And, when they think of me now, it's, Belle Tunstall, this, Northern Virginia realtor. It's no longer just all the things that I was. Yeah. And again, that just came from very, thought out kind of posting and how, what I posted, how I posted it and worded it. And just keeping in mind that I have humbly, right. I have to like rebrand myself and I'm younger. It kind of felt like I had all these things against me. So it just, for me, it was just this slow progression. But, I feel like, I don't know, everyone's just so afraid of like their fear is just like failure and stuff. And I just feel like, I was just, teaching this morning with our team, and David Goggins and like Can't Hurt Me, that book, we read it a couple months ago. And I mean, for me, I like college athlete and everything. So I'm like so competitive.
Resonates with you. Yeah.
I love that book. And I listened to it as I was training for a marathon. So I'm like, he's like drowning. I can absolutely get through like 6 miles. But like, he talked at one point, it was like the only way to guarantee failure is to quit now, or, to quit where you are. Like that will guarantee failure. And I think for us, it's like people are just, they're afraid to fail. And I feel like for real estate, it's either maybe someone's first job or, they've retired and gone back into it. And I feel like for me, one of those earlier pains was sort of like, okay, how I'm used to like excelling in sports and different things, but I've also had 20 years of playing sports. And now I've had 6 months in this industry. Like I don't know these scripts and I don't know these things. And so I feel like as adults, we don't really realize, oh, I actually have to like learn. It's going to take time. I have to like learn this new skill and everything. So I feel like if you're a newer agent, I think for me, what really kickstarted my business in probably like 2019 is Chris Craddock, my team lead. I just shadowed him like all the time. Like I was like, okay, if you have like calls that you're making later today where you're going to be negotiating, or you have a tough call coming up, like, can I just, like hop on the call? I'll be on mute. I just want to hear your scripts, how you go through this. Mm-hmm. Can I shadow you on this listing appointment, on these showings? Like, I think for a while I was just like a agent Uber driver, right? I just opened the door and would be silent. Literally, I cringe. I'm like, oh, what was I doing? What a waste of time. Like, but this, I hope you guys are listening. It's like, please learn from my mistakes, these expensive mistakes. For the first 2 years, I can't believe I'm going to just say it, but it's like, I would show the house and be quiet. And I would just like follow them and then be like, okay, what do you guys think? Like, I'm not even exaggerating. That's what I would do. So yeah, of course I'm showing 50 homes. I'm like not being helpful. And so just making, learning from Chris, learning from agents of like, okay, I have to point out the triple molding and point out the size of the floorboards and talk about the neighborhood and the comps and, where is this house better than the last one we saw? And kind of, again, my biggest thing is like, I'm not pushy. Like I'm not a psychopath. Like I have to sleep at night. And if I close 80 deals and if I know that 70 of them is like, oh, that was the wrong house. Like, no, I'm not doing that. So it's like, but if it's the right house, I'll push lightly. Like, okay, you guys mentioned this open concept and look at, how does this compare, whatever. So it's like learning from people who are doing much like way more business than me. And they're in a position that I want to be, I aspire to be in. So follow them, shadow them, like ask if you can do it. We have an agent right now joining the team and he's shadowing me on a deal with clients right now. So for him, it's kind of, top training, just like it was for me for years. And so I feel like if you're kind of a newer agent, that's an easy way to just really kickstart, a lot of your business.
I love it. Post to social media, shadow your team leader or somebody, a mentor, somebody. Yeah. And there was a third thing. What did we talk about earlier?
Well, I mean, we talked about like failure and pain. It's like, you just you can't fear failing, because if you like do quit and stuff, then it's guaranteed. So it's,
and setting expectations.
Oh, right.
For buyers. Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
So I don't know, all these different things, but I guess we didn't really like get too much into it, but I'm happy to, I don't know, anyone listening, you can like just throw me a DM. I'm 29. I've never met another just Belle. So I don't know, hopefully it's not too hard to find on Instagram, but
tell us your handle one more time.
Okay. So it's Buy with Belle. So it's BUY_W_BELLE. So if you're an agent or, I'm happy to kind of go over different things or give pointers, stuff like that. But
it's awesome. Thanks, Belle. I appreciate you coming on here, sharing all of that valuable information with us. And I'm sure there's a lot of takeaways for our guests today.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it was fun chatting. So we should do it again.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Awesome.
All right, real estate rock stars. This is Aaron Muchastegui jumping in again to thank you for listening to the show. Hopefully you guys loved listening to that one. And I want to make sure that you know about all of the extra resources that we have. And also, we need your help. They say podcasts are free. You get to listen to podcasts for free. But what is the cost of that podcast? I would say if I could beg you to pay anything for that podcast, I would say the cost of the podcast is going and giving a review. So whether you download it on Google or Apple or YouTube or anywhere else, please go give us a review. Say what you liked, what you didn't like. It helps us get better guests. The more reviews, the higher we get in the rankings. Right now, we are the biggest podcast out there for real estate agents, and we want to keep that spot because we know there's lots of podcasts out there. So go give us a review. Also, be sure to go to hibandigital.com. If you liked any of the resources that those real estate agents talked about, we've got a huge video vault of those resources for free. Every penny that comes on the podcast that we interview, they give us something that helps them get their deals or helps them work with their clients, and we put that in the toolbox in our vault for you. So go to hibandigital.com and you can get it. If you're looking for real estate education, go to rebusuniversity.com. We have all sorts of courses in there to help agents succeed in real estate. How to get the listing, how to negotiate deals, how to become an investor, all sorts of different stuff, rebusuniversity.com. And if you want to chat with me, go find me on Instagram. And if you come find me on Instagram, you can send me messages. Tell me what you want to hear. Tell me what you liked, what you didn't like. We try to put a bunch of content out there too. You can find me in 2 different places. It's at rerockstars.com for our Real Estate Rockstars page, or at aaronamuchastegui.com for my personal Instagram page, where I can chat with you about all sorts of different things. Thanks for listening. We'll see you again soon.